Well, hello and welcome to Knife Delights. It's time for another 2 for Tuesday, that easy open tag that I invite all channels to participate in. Hey, just grab a couple of knives and talk about them. So this 2 for Tuesday is inspired by a viewer's comment. And this viewer left a comment concerning the Buck 118 Personal. And that is this knife right here. And basically his question was asking, is this a fillet knife? And I thought, well, you know what? This is a good chance to get out my buck fixed blades. You know I love my buck fixed blades. And I thought I would kind of compare the 118 Personal to the 121 fish knife. And this is a knife that I just recently got here 2 or 3 weeks ago, I guess, and did a video on. So this is originally what the buck fish knife was, the model 121. Now in the video that I did on this knife, it goes into the history of it. It had a different name originally. It had a little different design and had some jimping up here and that. But in, I think it was 1961, well, no, I got to hold back on that. I'm not quite sure when they came out with this actual design with, you know, the standard black phenolic and the aluminum pommel and guard. I'll have to go back and watch my own video to catch the history on this one. But anyway, so my direct answer is this is the 118 is not a fillet knife as what I consider to be a fillet knife. So what do I mean by that? Well, fillet knife to me is one that has a very thin blade, and when you know, you can press down on it and kind of curve the blade just a little bit as you're peeling off fillets. So neither one of these knives are what I consider to be a fillet knife. Now the 121 fish knife, as you can see, does have a much thinner blade, so it is designed more for cleaning fish. Now, before I get too much further, I'll just point out that neither one of these knives are currently in production. So the 118, though, was produced, I think, up until like 2020, 2021, somewhere in that area. So there may be online knife stores that still have some of those in stock if you're looking to get a personal. The 121 has not been in production for several years now, as far as I know. Now, Buck did or has come out with actual what we would consider to be fish knives, fillet knives, and I even think they make a folding model. So in the more modern era, Buck has come out with some more what we would consider to be a fillet knife. So let's just take a little look at the lengths here. And we can see that the 118 Personal has an overall length of about 8 3/4 inches. And the 121 looks like right around 9 1/2 inches. The blades, we got a 5 1/2 inch blade there on the 121. And about a 4 1/2 inch blade there. So about an inch difference in the blade length. Take a look at these tang stamps. 121 USA and the 118. Now we look at the blades here. We can see on the 118 Personal, it is a trailing point blade. It's got a curve up to it, and oh, what's my terminology? What am I looking for here? But you look at the blade there, and we see that that is missing on the 118 Personal, which appears to be a trailing point blade also. This one here, the 118 here, is in the 420 HC, the standard Buck blade steel that they use. Gosh, I'm having a problem formulating my thoughts here. And this one here, I'll have to look up I believe this is in 440. This is probably old enough that it's using what Buck used to use as their standard steel, and that's the 440. So, gosh, I got to look that up. Gosh, folks, do you ever have days where you just can't think? I just can't think this morning. Goodness gracious. Anyway, on the 118, we can see that blade grind there. It's a nice hollow grind, which is pretty standard on the Buck fixed blade knives. They're traditional ones anyway. And we can see this one is a hollow grind, but it does not seem to be as pronounced and as deep. And that's probably because it's, again, almost a fillet knife, and so they want it to be just a little bit flatter as you're cleaning your fish and not so deep. Again, we'll look at the blade thickness here. And we can see that this one is more designed for processing meat with that deeper hollow grind to it. So, yeah. Let's take a look at the sheaths here real quick, because I have the newer style sheath here in the 118, and I was able to buy the 118 out of a local sporting goods store that still had one in stock. So this is a brand new 118, and you can see their sheaths. They always stamp the model number in the back, so you got the 118 there, and it is the modern wraparound style. And with these, if you look down in here, you can see a little plastic insert down there, and that's something Buck started doing with these sheaths, and it helps keep the form of the sheath, and helps with the wear and tear down inside. So it does. On most of these, they do fit fairly snug. You don't get any wobble out of it. Although I do have one of the 102s where the sheath is just a little bit oversized and you get a lot of wobble in it. But this one does not have any. And then we can look at the older style sheath. And the old style was the flap over. And I actually did a video on the Buck sheaths, wondering if we could tell the age of a knife just by the sheath. Because like this one here is stamped Buck across here. You got Buck there on the button. And on some of the older ones, it doesn't look exactly like that. But it's hard to determine. It's hard to determine. But again, there's your model number, 121. And it does not have the plastic insert. So, some people say they prefer these old style fold over sheaths, and some like the wraparound, so I guess it's just kind of a personal preference, but no wobble to it. Sits in there pretty nice and tight. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the look at these two knives, and I hope I've answered your question. No, the 118 is not a fillet knife, was not designed as a fillet knife. As far as their standard old style knives, the 121 would be closest to being a fillet knife, the Fisherman. So until next time, have a very delightful day.